Most of our energy comes from the sun. It provides us with light and heat, and it's fair to say that humans wouldn't be alive without it. But the sun also provides us with gravity. Gravity is both extremely useful and extremely annoying. When you're trying to escape from Earth's gravity, it's extremely annoying because you have to use up most of your fuel. The same happens when you're trying to escape from Mars' gravity, though not to the same degree of course. But when you're in space, you can reverse engineer Earth and Mars' gravity against itself. You can use Earth's gravity to essentially slingshot yourself to Mars. This idea is rightfully called the gravitational slingshot, and the Mars Cycler uses just that to provide a free trip to Mars. But how does a Mars Cycler work? Well, it starts off with a few Starship launches to get all the Cycler's parts into orbit. Once that's done, we can send in the actual crew aboard a Starship. Getting them to orbit is pretty simple. However, the rendezvous with the Cycler is a lot harder. This is because the Mars Cycler is moving at extremely high speeds of around 15,000 miles per hour. That means that to dock with it, a hyperbolic rendezvous would have to occur. These are very dangerous, because if they don't go as planned, the crew doesn't have enough fuel to slow down, turn around, and head back to Earth. Anyways, after the Starship and Cycler have successfully docked, the Cycler then gets itself from low Earth orbit to Mars insertion orbit. Other than a few course corrections, this is the only time the Cycler will ever use its propulsion. Now, gravity takes over, and it quickly gets to Mars in only 146 days, or just under 5 months. The important thing to notice here is that the Cycler didn't use any fuel to get from Mars insertion orbit to low Mars orbit. Gravity got it there for free, and that's the main advantage of the Mars Cycler. When the Cycler finally reaches the red planet, the Starship detaches, and since it still has a lot of fuel left over, it has many options for added safety when coming in for the powered landing. When getting back to Earth, the only fuel spent is getting the Starship to dock with the Mars Cycler, and no more. You might have noticed that when it's orbiting, the Cycler extends way past Mars, and in fact takes 16 months to loop back to Mars. This doesn't mean astronauts have to wait an extra 16 months to get back. We can just add another Cycler along the same orbit so that the crew has more flexibility when returning. As for its design, the Mars Cycler is pretty simplistic. There would be propulsion and fuel to get into Mars insertion orbit. As seen in this diagram, this doesn't require much fuel. The delta V required, or basically the fuel needed, is less than what's needed to get from low Earth orbit to lunar orbit, which is a tiny amount if you've ever played Kerbal Space Program. Other than that short burn, the propulsion would only serve as correctors to alter the orbit of the vehicle when needed. Now that we are done with the propulsion units, let's move up to the fairly straightforward solar arrays that will provide energy for the crew vehicle and habitation modules. Speaking of the habitation modules, these are not small. In fact, each one of these modules can contain 330 cubic meters of volume. For perspective, the Starship can hold 1,000 cubic meters. So 2 of these are around 2/3 of what a Starship can hold. They're also inflatable and very lightweight, so it's very easy to get them into orbit. But wait, there's more. The crew vehicle module, aka what docks with the Cycler, can also provide space for crew or cargo. So the total volume ends up being even more than what a single Starship can hold. As for the crew vehicle module, we have 2 options. While the default option is Starship, I don't believe it would be very efficient, because most of Starship's engines and its fuel tanks would be unused for the most part. Which brings us to the better option, Starship Mini, more commonly known as Mars Direct 3.0. Since Starship Mini has less space reserved for fuel tanks and engines, it would provide lots more space for crew and cargo without much dead weight. However, the original Starship will still have many crucial uses, including getting the Mars Cycler into low Earth orbit and getting the crew to the Cycler. My personal preference is a modification of the Mini Starship, specifically tailored to allow it to more safely complete the hyperbolic rendezvous, because that rendezvous is the only drawback that the Mars Cycler has. With a free trip to Mars, whichever Starship chosen would have much more space for crew or cargo, because it wouldn't need as much fuel. So that's the Mars Cycler, an idea proposed by Buzz Aldrin that will provide us with what is essentially free fuel, which is the currency of space. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Mars.